Hello friends. So today we will be discussing about another hot topic which is India-Nepal relation which comes under the GS2 syllabus International Relations, India and its neighbors. So recently in recent years we have seen like many internal conflicts and struggles in our neighboring states. We have seen it in Sri Lanka, we have seen it in Maldives, Bangladesh and all. Now it's seeing in Nepal. Okay. So, from all other countries I have mentioned, questions have been asked for our main perspective, that is in the GS2 paper. So, we are trying to prepare ourselves on the Nepal issue. So, here we will be looking at the significance of our relation with Nepal, the challenges we had earlier, and what this the conflict had given. I mean, what this conflict or the how this conflict had affected our strategic influences in Nepal. So, and with a way forward. So, let's look. So, let's begin. So, as introduction, we can obviously bring up this Gen Z uprising in Nepal. So, the recent Gen Z uprising in Nepal, triggered by the ban on social media platforms, reflects deeper causes in Nepal governance crisis. They also pose multidimensional strategic challenges for India. Okay, we can write it as introduction, citing the recent Gen Z uprising in Nepal. Then let's look at the significance. So there have been historical ties, that is Buddhism. Buddhism is a prominent religion in Nepal. So Buddhism with Buddha's birthplace Lumbini, which is located in present-day Nepal. So Buddhism is historically been a prominent religion in India as well. So Lumbini, the birthplace of Buddha, is currently part of Nepal. Roti Beti Ka Rishta, that means uh, historically we have like free movement across the borders and widespread cross-border marriages between Indians and Nepals have been observed. Treaty of Peace and Friendship of 1950 are as per this, reciprocal treatment of Indian and Nepali citizens in two countries in terms of residence, property, business and movement were also seen. So that collaboration, that friendliness of or the neighborness was due to the Treaty of Peace and Friendship of 1950. Then let's look at the geostrategic significance of Nepal to India. It acts as a buffer state. We know Nepal stands between uh, China, the Tibetan part, and uh, India. So it acts as a buffer state. Okay, buffer against any possible aggression from China. Then trade and economy. India is the largest trading partner of Nepal and the highest source of its FDI. Okay, so that's a huge benefit to India as well as for Nepal in terms of trade. Then connectivity. So have been laying an electric rail track linking Kathmandu, which is the capital of Nepal, with Rexall in India. Okay, where is Rexall situated? Find that and type it in the comment section. So which state uh, Rexall lies in? Then cooperation, power sector and energy. We know Nepal is an Himalayan state, Himalayan country. So there are a lot of glaciers and have huge potential for um, the production of hydropower. So we can exploit it, use it and achieve our climate goals together. In 2019, South Asia's first cross-border petroleum products pipeline connected Motihari in India to Amelganj in Nepal. Okay, we can also cite the border petroleum products pipeline as well. Okay, defense cooperation. Recruitment of Nepali soldiers in Gokar regiments of the Indian Army have historically happened. Then Surya Kiran program, that is the annual joint military exercise conducted alternately with India and Nepal. We can also cite that. Okay, so we have been listing some extra points. but we know as the demand of the questions we write only 5 to 6 points only. Okay, so prioritize the points accordingly. We can also say about the multilateral cooperation we have with Nepal. So we togetherly are part of this BBIN, which contains Bangladesh, Bhutan, India, and Nepal. Then BIMSTEC is there, International Solar Alliance is there, then comes the SAC. So India and Nepal togetherly part of all these multilateral institutions or the organizations. Then in disaster management, Delhi was the first responder in 2015 earthquake in Nepal, that is the Operation Maitri. And there is also another Operation Maitri, that is the vaccine Maitri. So India supplied Covishield to Nepal under this scheme. Okay, so this were the historical and other significances or Nepal has to India. Okay, so that was the significances we had. Okay, so let's check where all our relationship converge together. To sorry, it's a issue of divergence. Convergence, no, it's the issue of divergence. That is the territorial disputes. Okay, the Kathmandu publishes a new political map in 2020 that showed, sorry, 2020 that showed three Indian territories, that is Libyadura, Kalapani, and Libulek as part of Nepal. So these three areas actually belong to India, and in the map that the Nepal government published in 2020, which considers these areas as part of Nepal. So just note down these regions for problems perspective as well. Then the China's rising footprint. Nepal is a key partner in the Belt and Road Initiative of China. It's a concern for India. Then the Gorkha. The Gorkha, we earlier said the Gorkhas having been used in our Indian Army as well for their separate Gorkha regiment. So the Gorkhas might join the Chinese army due to the concerns regarding Agniveer scheme. The Agniveer scheme we all know, which was passed post-COVID, right? Uh, so there's a concern with the Gorkhas as well regarding the scheme. Then it also undermining Nepal distinction of a buffer state between India and China. If Nepal and China uh, grow a close relationship, then we won't have that benefit of Nepal being a buffer there. Then there are trust gaps, that is the India slow pace of project implementation in Nepal. Then alleged perceptions of India's interference in Nepal politics as well. It has been historically seen many governments or many politicians are accused this interference of India in Nepal's politics. Then there are certain concerns regarding treaty. We had earlier mentioned the 1950 Friendship Treaty. Uh, so the Nepal government or the Nepalese consider this treaty benefiting more to India than for them. So there are security issues, that is the uh, the porous borders, and we can see like the Maoists or the other groups that consistently creates internal security crisis in India. They used to escape through these porous borders to Nepal for security. So in these cases, what can we do as a way forward? Okay, so we can uh, do a sustained and open diplomatic discussions between them. Okay, so we are trying to make proper and discussion to solve these issues. Then encourage track to diplomacy involving non-governmental entities and academics and civil society. So what is track to diplomacy? Check the comment sections to know more about track to diplomacy. Revisiting the friendship treaty. The friendship treaty, which is not updated, which was established in 1915, needs to be revisited and updated. So, and explore and implement joint hydropower projects. We should explore more of the potential of it, of Nepal, because many glaciers are there. It's a uh, we know the Talas Peak resides there. So of course there are many glaciers there. The policy of no interference in internal politics. So India must have a policy of non-interference for Nepal to make sure they of their sovereignty. Use regional forums like BIMSTEC, BBI, and SARC, and others we have mentioned earlier to balance China's influence and foster multilateralism. Okay, so this is a general thing that we have discussed here. That is the obvious issues of obvious, like we are separating the current recent issues happening in Nepal. We can say about these were the significances, these were the challenges which was already there. Okay, these were the challenges which was already there, and for those, these were the way forward. So, but considering the recent issues which is happening, so it creates another more strategic challenges to India. Okay, so it is overlapping with what we have discussed now. So just try to discuss it, stay more. Okay, it also concerns a humanitarian and a refugee concerns. Like there is open borders with Bihar, Uttar Pradesh, West Bengal, so which makes India vulnerable to civilian spillovers and refugee inflows. Then there are border security pressures. Like there are, we can see many jailbreaks happen, and there is no law currently in Nepal. So this risk infiltration of criminals and traffickers to India. Then smuggling and cross-border crimes may increase. Then there is economic angle. When we have discussed the security angle, now we are discussing the economic angle. So economic disruptions, like we have said, India is the largest trading partner. Nepal is India's largest trade partner in the Himalayas. So that relationship might get disturbed. And tourism is a major industry for Nepal as well, and it affects both countries. Nepali tourists in India and Indian tourists in Nepalese are both affected, and remittances by Nepali workers in India will be also affected. We know 33% of Nepal's GDP comes from remittances the Nepali workers outside Nepal send, and many are residing in India. So that affects their economy as well. Then we can say about the hydropower and energy cooperation. So the instability threatens projects like Iron 3, Trishuli, sorry, that's a spelling mistake, which are critical to India's clean energy goals. Then the interactions like Nepal's electricity exports to India and Bangladesh. So this would definitely happen in such situations. Then the strategic role of China. Political vacuum gives Beijing opportunities through PRA projects, loans, and political outreach. Okay, so we have seen in the case of Sri Lanka when that economic issue happened, China offered a lot, and in turn, it had to deal with the debt trap with China. Okay, China had made a debt trap with it. So such an issue might happen with such an issue might happen in this case of Nepal. Okay, then the entry of Chinese firms in hydropower and connectivity threatens to displace Indian influences. Okay, so China with much more faster technology, like in terms of construction of dams and tunneling, might make this as an advantage and overpowering India's influence in the Nepal's hydropower and connectivity projects. Then the stress on India's neighborhood policy. So it undermines India's image as a stabilizer under neighborhood first policy. And new youth driven leaders may not align with India like traditional parties. Yeah, the traditional parties have been associated with India for too long, and the new youth driven leaders which are going to take the positions of president or prime minister in Nepal might not have that same view with Nepal. So what can we write as way forward? The same way forward that we had written earlier. That goes here as well. Okay, that's why I have not completed it. Okay, so that is all. So and conclusion, what we can write? We can write a beautiful future oriented conclusion. Okay, we can cite the SDG goals or even our cooperation in hydroelectric power plants to achieve the net zero emission targets as well. So we can conclude accordingly. Thank you.